Are we supposed to down it?
Mm-hmm.
I want to taste mine a little bit. Shout out to Faisal.
Shout out to Faisal, man.
He do it. I can't have this all the time no more, but man.
Faisal.
He pulled up to my job one time with 10 jars.
Hey. Oh, that's right. You the finance man. What's
that got to do with it?
Well, normally people, your type of job, you normally pull up with like Coke or something.
All right, gentlemen. So
in the 90s, yeah.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't working in the 90s.
Oh man.
I used to work at a car dealership. I know what goes on there.
So, as we all know, there is a very, very, very real problem still on this earth. Racism, social injustice. So, we're going to, as always, tap in on this, you know what I'm saying, bounce around ideas, bounce around opinions. So, I'm going to start with a question for Wildstyle, at least. What have you been doing, like, because I know you've been doing your thing in the community and stuff like that, and you told me something behind the scenes about what you did today. So can you touch on what you do as far as social injustice work?
I think what I do is complicated. So I'm a part of, I always talk about everybody else when I critique like hip hop collectives just because I am in a collective, but I'm not in a hip hop collective. I'm in an arts collective. It's called The Learning Tree, and we're an asset-based community development organization. We get to know our neighbors, we give talents, we support them, we support each other, we advocate for them, and that's really what I've done the last 6 years just with the Learning Tree. That segued into me being an ambassador for the Central Indiana Community Foundation, which is a $1 billion institution now. I have access to the money, but they do at least talk to me about some of the grant making that they're doing and what they're doing. And one of the reason why I am an ambassador for the Central Indiana Community Foundation, CICF, is in 2019 they changed their mission statement to make it part of their mission to dismantle racism in Central Indiana. And so that's why, I'm part of that. That's why I do that. And that said, that's really kind of what I do about supporting the community, because most of the community's issues can really just be tracked back to racism, systemic, particular people and organizations, but systemic racism. And that's a very different, systemic racism is a very different racism than I don't like him because he's black. Systemic racism is Robert Moses, one of the fathers of city planning in the United States of America, designing the bridges in New York to be too low for city buses to make sure that black people couldn't get to the beaches. That exists long after that man is dead. Like systemic racism, you can bring in completely new people that aren't racist, and that framework is there, and it is still fucking people. And so that's part of the thing. So I don't always, sometimes I'm extremely left-leaning, and sometimes people get caught up in the whole pointing out stuff. I don't know, where like H&M did something where they did something racist on their advertisement and stuff. I don't spend as much time with that as I do calling out actual systems and policies that are hurting people. And so that's usually where I'm at is, and I've made a lot of enemies and a lot of friends doing that.
I already know.
I got a funny Wildstyle story. So
yeah, go ahead.
We did a show 2 summers ago downtown when they were gentrifying it. And he kept telling me, he goes, if they give me an interview, I'm going to ruin this lady's fucking day. She gave him an interview. That shit lasted 10 minutes. They kicked him out.
Oh,
and they deleted the footage.
hey, but what did you say? What did you say?
I talked about what they were doing with the neighborhood. They were having this big festival to celebrate like the history of the neighborhood, which is a black neighborhood. It's been a black neighborhood for 100 years. And they're wiping out that neighborhood. And I talked about it in the video. I was like, oh, you're throwing them a festival in this to basically say goodbye to that culture and to the history that's here. It's funny because Dominic Dorsey did that Blacktoberfest over there, which is at Chuck Mason's Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to Chuck Mason's Lodge. I didn't know that was Chuck Mason's Lodge anymore because I hadn't been over there in a few years, and it looks completely different. You've got these big condos and high-rise condominiums going up around it. It's a completely different neighborhood now, and they've like got rid of all the poor black folks, the middle-income people out of there. And so, I went in on that interview.
He came downstairs 10 minutes later talking about, yep, they're going to delete that shit.
Yeah, I never did see it put out. But.
So I'm bouncing to you, Brandon, and
Yeah.
I got a follow-up question for you, Wildstyle. So, Brandon, being a white man, what is the troubles of social injustice, like you being on the other end, the quote-unquote black side, that's what white people would call that. What differences have you seen within the white community towards you being a white man standing out against racism?
Oh boy. Okay, so the first thing, like as a white dude, you gotta understand is that we'll never understand.
Mm-hmm.
And until you understand that, you won't understand anything else. So for me, it's like I will never understand what you guys have to go through, but what I can do is be a shoulder to lean on if you need help.
Right.
And what a lot of white people that don't have friends of color don't understand is, oh, well, I have a friend that's black, and
Yeah.
we've all heard that.
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Which doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
But when I was downtown and I was in a sea of people there just trying to see what the fuck's really going on. I documented the whole thing. I think I was live for almost 3 hours. And you have white people that down there really down for the cause, which I thought was really cool. But one thing that someone told, I can't remember who told me this, but it stuck out to me, is white silence equals white consent.
Mm-hmm.
And since we make up majority of the country's population, if we don't have your back, there will be no change. So for me, it was like, if I can't put myself on the ground floor and try to invite people that look like me to be invited into this cause to actually do something, it's not going to change. Because the people in power look like me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can't say something that's going to spark someone else to get the fuck up and do something about this, then what am I even doing this for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I would say to other white people is, when a situation happens, don't say, well, if you would have just followed the rules, what if that was you?
And I've heard that a bunch of times. And
Yeah.
why is that a thing? Why do they feel that if we just follow the rules and we follow this set of rules that they have in play, that we're going to be treated the same?
Because
we still are out here being shot, we're still out here being profiled, we're still out here being overlooked. Like you said, systematic racism, that happens in the workforce more than anywhere
else.
Because they will see a black man with the same qualities this white dude have, and they will give that job to the white man, even if the black man had a little bit higher qualification, just because they have around the same education, they will give it to that white man.
Mm-hmm.
Why what do we do to move forward from that, and what can we do? Which is my follow-up question for you. What's the solution to systematic racism?
The solution is for people to look outside their own lenses. A billionaire doesn't know what someone that's starving thinks, because they're not starving. So if I can put myself in a situation, whether it be a real life situation or something we can simulate, or just view it from a different angle, watch certain things, watch things that make you feel uncomfortable. There's a movie, I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but a black man was on trial, and it happened to his daughter, and the white, I think it was Matthew McConaughey actually, the white lawyer said, okay, looked at the judge and said, okay, now imagine it was your daughter that this happened to. And suddenly the judge's face turned, the whole jury was like, oh shit, damn, what if that did happen to my child? He goes, okay, take color out of it. It's just a human. So until we can all look at each other and put ourselves in situations that make us feel uncomfortable, we can't change. Change is uncomfortable. So for people in power, they're typically white. They promote people that look like them because they understand that. They understand each other. If they've never left their own fucking neighborhood, they don't know what it's like to not have a fucking food court. You go down to Hawville, you have a liquor stores and you have fried food joints. That's it. You have nothing else. You can't go to Carmel and go to World Market and get fresh thyme and rosemary. It doesn't exist. So, to your point, that's systematic racism as well. It was designed to put poor people in situations where they can't leave. Mm-hmm. So you look at Hawville, they've renovated it 1,000 times. Ain't shit changed. They tried to gentrify it. Shit still ain't changed. So, you know, and until you put yourself in a situation where you have to starve or you feel like you have to change something about yourself to make it out of your current situation, you won't know.
Same question for you. So what's give me some type of solution that we got to systematic racism. Like what steps do we take to either as black men to pretty much like tell them like, look, we're just as good as you. We deserve to be at the round tables that you guys are at.
Well, this is gonna be a bit controversial, but that's what I do.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, we're gonna have to dismantle the systems. One of the hallmarks of white supremacy is gaslighting and getting when they have to deal with black people, they'll find people that think like them. Like, so there's people that, in fact, we might have talked about them earlier. I said I'm diametrically opposed to. They'll find people like that think that racism isn't a thing, and we'll put them in power. We'll put them over the black people. We'll give them a position. And what we have to do more as black men is to hold each other accountable. Mm-hmm. I made a status the other day about everybody was mad at Cuddy for wearing a dress. Like, this isn't the first time he wore a dress.
Second or third time.
Yeah, so I don't even think it's the third time. I think this was the best looking dress out of all of them he wore, but the makeup was bad. But either way, I made a status and I said, look, my black brothers, I know everybody's afraid of this plot to put you in a dress, but I ain't never seen a nigga in a dress sell out his community. It's niggas in a suit that do that. Like, be aware, be wary of that. That's what they want to get you in, is a suit and have you sell out your community. I ain't never seen any of y'all seen a nigga in a dress sell out the black community? Mm-hmm. Have you seen a nigga in a suit sell out the black community? A lot. So,
and with a badge.
Exactly. so that we got to hold each other accountable. We got to quit being satisfied with diversity. Diversity is not equity. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. There was a man in South Carolina. He owned about 97 slaves. He had been a slave himself. He worked and managed to finagle, and he had a owner that was willing to allow him to work for his freedom. Then he bought his family. Then he bought more slaves and this and that. Blah 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 blah. He became one of the largest black slave owners in the antebellum South. Now that, folks, is an example of diversity. That's diversity. That's not equity. That means you done put this nigga up here to own everybody else, and then the other 4 million black slaves and everything. I mean, I think there was a small percentage of black slave owners, but that's diversity. Is that right? Black people owning black people? No. The other 4 million people didn't get the benefit because, you uplifted this motherfucker here and this person there to own slaves. So as black men, we got to hold each other accountable. Some of the stuff that we run and do, I know for a fact that, like, when you get in a position where you get loud, people will offer you jobs. They'll offer you opportunities just to shut the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Some people take them jobs and they go sell out their community. They go put on. I'm not saying every black man who puts on a suit sells out his community, mm-hmm. but like I said, there's a bigger percentage of them selling out their community than niggas in dresses. So you have to watch for that. And so sometimes we've as black men, we've allowed ourselves to be consumed with black excellence. So, okay, this motherfucker owns this, and that, and we don't worry about, well, how did he get in position, and why isn't the rest of black society in position to to be wealthy and be happy and not be impoverished. Why are we celebrating him? What is he doing back for his community? How did he get this wealth? Who did he fuck over to get this stuff? What positions is he over? How is he advocating for his community? And those are a lot of questions that we don't ask. I know. Now I think Jay-Z does a better job than a lot of other millionaires, but there's a lot of local millionaires and regional black millionaires that have really gotten their money off the backs of the black community. And you know, they are not friends of the community. They've done all sorts of things, and we don't call that out. In fact, some of we uplift them. I'll give you an example.
Did he?
Huh?
Did he?
Yeah. Well, did. Yeah, you know, everybody wanted to say Travis Scott was sacrificing people. Did he really has sacrificed some people? But I mean, I look at even at the local level. There's a columnist. He's a writer. He's an attorney. Abdul Hakim Shabazz. He is actually Juice WRLD's uncle. But he is the biggest local coon. I've called him a coon many times. I mean, I've said said horrible things about this man, and I mean those horrible things because he is somebody that he has a show on WIBC. He is a man that profits off of peddling. He is like the Uncle Ruckus, and he gets paid for that, and so he gets on these shows, and he's the black person that can say like really racist stuff towards us and advocate for policy against us. Like 2015, he had a column. He said, "Is Indy's high murder rate a self-cleaning oven?" And went on to describe how that it was.
Wow.
He talked about the solution to all the crime in MLK corridor, Hallville, Brightwood, the Far East Side was gentrification. Like, get rid of these poor people and put people in there that are better citizens going to pay taxes. Like, I mean, he wrote this stuff in the Indianapolis Business Journal. He talked about getting rid of the homeless. In fact, that man that got his face stomped in by IMPD, Abdul helps run the group that advocated for more police patrols and had them remove the homeless people from the circle. And yet, when as the homicide rates spiral and get worse and worse, this is the same nigga they put up on the panel all the time, and almost nobody will go say anything about it. Now I have, and as much as people don't always like LeBron been whooping that nigga's ass online for years.
Shout out LeBron.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out LeBron. Like, y'all may not like what he says all the time, but LeBron been calling that nigga out for years that he hates black people, that he is sold out.
And see, that now that you said that brings up another conversation too about like the murder rate. That's why there's a lot of unsolved murders, because they see that as a self-cleaning.
Hey, they do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, these niggas just killing themselves. Fuck it. And we not even gonna solve them. We gonna let y'all do y'all gang thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, but what they don't see is poverty brings violence.
It does.
If you're starving, you're gonna find a fucking way to eat.
Yeah.
You know, and
You
like I
want to
said
take
earlier,
it,
if
or-
all you have is liquor stores and fast food joints, and let's be clear, they're not hiring people that live in that community for those jobs. They're hiring outside the community.
Absolutely.
When the riots happened in Baltimore, and they was talking about, oh, I can't believe the black people ruined their own CVS. Those motherfuckers didn't live in Baltimore. They worked at CVS.
They not part of that community,
Yeah.
so technically it ain't they damn CVS.
Exactly. Like that's what a lot of people don't understand, especially people that look like me. Just because violence is happening doesn't mean it's caused from inside. It's because there's no way out of this community the way it's set up. So they have to do these measures to try to make something of their lives, and it's fucked up, man. And
they don't even give you a chance either, because if you get one little bit on your record as a black man, you can kiss any like job. I've been, because I have a little record myself that I'm actually working on getting expunged, because once it gets old enough, I'm boom getting that together. But I have been overlooked of a lot of jobs that I'm well overqualified for, that I've done before based off my record. And this is some shit that I'm 27 now. This is some shit that I did when I was like 22, 20, you know what I'm saying, 23. I'm a whole different man now. You know what I'm saying? But I feel as if there was a white person that came with that same story, like, yo, this is the situation, but I changed, they would give that man a shot. You know what I'm saying? Or at least they would at least hear it. They won't even hear me. They would just
At
run.
least interview him.
They
right?
would just run my background check.
But you know, a white man would have had a better lawyer than you in the first place.
I had a public attorney.
Exactly.
So,
And that is part of systemic racism, is that people don't understand that what they do to felons is make them second-class citizens for almost life, so that they get to pay them a lot less. That is a labor strategy.
mm-hmm.
That they save billions on labor by oh, nigga, you got a record. We not about to pay you shit anymore.
Yeah.
That is a strategy. It's about money. And if you look at the different industries, all of it's like that. And they know that, well, you don't have as many options, so you're gonna have to take this job, and we gonna pay you this, or where else you gonna go?
And that's what prompts all the bullshit.
And
because
violence.
because when a black man feels that, yo, I have no other options left, like, they won't hire me, they won't give me a livable wage, because if they do hire you, they're going to hire you for about, what, 10 to 12 an hour or something like that. So they won't hire me. If they do hire me, they're going to give me little to nothing. What else am I going to do besides rob, steal,
right. And then they wonder why you out slinging, you out doing stuff, or why you snap on your girl, or you snap on your kids, or you snap on a motherfucker that does something stupid, where a white man from Carmel would have been like, you know what, I'm in a 7 Series Beamer. This is nothing to go act crazy about. But you struggling for a job and all this and that, you are able to fly off the handle on somebody do something stupid.
It be stressful too, because it be jobs that I know I'm qualified for. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm qualified for it. They just have to run my background. You know what I'm saying? And then oh, no, we not messing with you. It's over with. So, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of been hurting my job situation for a while. Gladly, I got a good job now, so that's water under the bridge now. But the first couple years was hard. You know what I'm saying? And I know if it's because of my skin color. I know that if I was a white man, like I said, they would at least heard me. They would at least give me the opportunity to go in there and explain why this happened, how it happened. You know what I'm saying? As a black man, we don't even get that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? To let you say what?
I'm sorry, what?
To, like, why? Okay, let me ask you a better question. Say that a black man and a white man have the same exact record. Why do you think, besides, I mean, of course, because they look at you, I mean, they look like you, why would they opt to choose the white man over the black man? It's like, even if the black man has a little bit better experience than he does, why do they always revert back to what they know instead of experiencing something new, giving that black man a chance?
Because it's comfortable. That's what it is. And I'm going to go back to that every time. People don't like to be uncomfortable. But until you're uncomfortable, you don't know anything else. You know, so obviously, I've had black friends my whole life.
Right.
But to some of my friends that don't have black friends, right? Like, we all have friends that don't have friends outside their race. I'm sure you guys have friends that don't have any white friends. But when they're around white people, I bet they're uncomfortable.
Yep.
Very.
And if I have some of my white friends that don't have any black friends, when they get around nothing but black people, they're uncomfortable. But until you're uncomfortable, you're not going to know another way. A lot of times that a job will hire the white guy just because he's more qualified is because of that. It's, do I want the pushback from the white people that work here? And I'm sure you felt that before working in the car business.
Oh, yeah.
You know, do I want to hire this black mechanic over this white mechanic, even though this black mechanic is a master tech and this guy's not? Of course not, because all the other white techs are going to feel some type of way. It's a whole snowball effect. So, I mean, and I'll keep going back to it. The only way to get past it is to get out of your comfort zone. But a lot of these white people in these positions to do so are in their 40s, 50s, 60s. I hate to say this, until they die, ain't shit changing. I hate to say that.
But that's the last of that generation, because the generation coming up, I feel like of white people, they're a little bit more aware because they're starting to march with us, they're starting to rally with us.
Like I said, when I was downtown, I was in a sea of white people that was there, and that was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
You can go to a
I'm
hip-hop
usually
show.
one of the few.
Go to a hip-hop show right now, you're going to see a lot of white people there, you know what I'm saying? So they are adapting to the culture of black people.
I think our generation is starting to break the barrier a little bit. You know,
There's still a lot of bad apples out there.
Of course.
Mhm.
And that goes from parenting, though. You
Mhm.
know, because racism isn't just a behavior you know.
Oh, it's taught.
It's a taught behavior.
It's taught.
Yeah, very
For
much.
sure.
You
it's
know,
taught.
So until like us as parents, we can break the mold.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, not everyone's gonna do it, but we can at least start the domino effect for the future. And I like to think we've come a long way, but we still have so much farther to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that someone posted something yesterday. It was this plane was leaving the ground, and 60 years later, we was walking on the moon.
Yeah.
I think it was you.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, 60 years ago, people was getting sprayed down with hoses, and 60 years later, we still marching downtown for the same shit.
And we're told to get over it, which that's 60 years ago. That's really not that long. Your grandmother's.
My granny lived through both.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
my grandma, she saw that.
And to tell people to get past that, get over and stuff like that, when it was really not that long ago, is a slap in the face. Like, why would we get over that when there's still people that are alive right now that have been through that in real time? They were there. They seen all this shit.
You know what? I had a conversation with an Irish dude last week, and he was talking about, I can't remember what it was that he was watching on the news. Unfortunately, another black man was killed by a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking, I was like, I'm Irish. We were slaves once too. I said, let me stop you right there. There's a fucking difference.
It's a whole big difference. I've heard that before.
So I told him, I said, you can trace your entire heritage.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. There's a certain line where it stops. Thomas Jefferson owned how many slaves?
A bunch.
An ungodly amount.
A lot.
And a lot of Black Americans' heritage stops at fucking Thomas Jefferson, and they can't go back farther. That's the difference. Sure, Irish people were slaves. They worked off their debt and they were back into society.
Yeah, they were indentured. So
it's a little different.
Well, the white Irish slavery that white people talk about never existed. They were indentured servants.
It's a little different, when you willingly go into servitude to pay off debts because you're a fucking criminal, than we just took you and sold you.
And then we enslaved the kids too and raped you and like that wasn't going on.
And separated your families and it's totally different.
Just brutal shit that was going on.
Yeah.
Man. Like it was just horrible, brutal shit, and that's why black people are more keen not to get over it. That's why we're not quick to, this is gonna be water under the bridge, just because, like you said, this new generation is breaking barriers. I give it that, but again, this was only 60 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That's still pretty current.
Because you got people like Sheriff David A. Clark out here. That's why.
Oh man, yeah, he's a motherfucker. Man.
let's touch base on that then. Let's go ahead and get into police brutality. I know that's one of them. So, Wildstyle, I know that you've done a lot of rallies. I don't know if you instituted the riots or not.
I was there. I didn't throw a brick at all. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what I'm saying? And Brandon, you was there too. You know what I'm saying? I was at the DeJohn Reed rally, so we're gonna touch base on that. So starting with Wildstyle, man, what did you see out there? Like what?
I mean, for the riots, the first day was a lot of angry people. I mean, and the police incited the violence. The second day, that's when all the anarchists, the white supremacists came down there, and just things went to really hell. People got killed. In fact, Chris Beatty.
Yeah, it was gradually out here.
I walked where he got killed like 10 minutes before it happened. Like, and I'm on Facebook Live. Like they talked about stuff going on in the parking garage. I actually could see something going on up there, and I talked about it on my Facebook Live that there was something going on in the parking garage as I was walking by. It was a crazy experience because I think Friday night was bad, but Saturday night, and you got the feeling that like you may or may not come home. Mm-hmm. Like it was that bad. I was at one point, I was trying to evade sniper positions because there were people shooting over us from the parking garages, stuff like that. So when they announced that they weren't going to charge the officer back last November, for Drayshawn Reed's murder, because I actually know eyewitnesses saw it.
That's what it is. It's murder.
Yeah, it was murder.
It was murder.
Before I went to that rally, I had 2 articles about racism and housing and stuff, and I had to send those they were not quite complete, but they were probably 90% of the way. And I sent those to Faisal to make sure that he could get them to Andy or Maurice in case something happened to me, because I wanted to make sure that the articles got out. It was a lot of work, and that was kind of, I think that kind of speaks to how fucked up.
You got real down there.
Yeah, things was like I had no intention of dying down there and everything else, but honestly,
you never knew.
Yeah, you don't know. My health wasn't the best last year. There was a lot of stuff going on. We didn't know if we was going to be met with white supremacists and sniper positions again. You just didn't know what you was going to do. You know, if the police was going to open fire. So that last big rally downtown, I made sure that I had my writing out there. That way, if something happened to me, at least people know what's going on with the housing. We could hopefully try to get the housing situation addressed. Because I put together a lot of research for that. But, honestly, a lot of people started marching last year. I started marching with Trayvon Martin in 2012. That was my first rally I marched at. And then I marched with Michael Brown in 2014. I remember having to march in 2016 a couple of times, and then rallies in 2017. So I think a lot of people didn't realize. I don't always act like the typical activist. I'm not going to talk about all that all the time. I'm going to be on there acting a fool and living life. I think that's what you should do. But I've been marching for a long time, and I'm tired. But I also understood that at my age, I was disappointed that we were still fucking marching and that your generation doesn't have something better.
It continues.
I know, and I'm disappointed in that, honestly. I remember saying that on Facebook Live, like, I'm disappointed that the younger generation doesn't have a better world to live in. Like, y'all are still being fucked over by the same systems. And I'll be honest, like, people in my generation and the generation before me really dropped the ball. I love my parents, but they're black boomers. They definitely dropped the ball. All of them, like just about, not all of them, but 90% of them, they gave up. They, like I said, with the being wary of the suits and stuff, but they gave them all factory jobs at Chrysler and Carrier and GM and all this other stuff. They gave enough of them factory jobs that they're like, oh, okay, well, things is good. Racism exists, but it ain't that bad. And the rest of y'all niggas need to pull yourselves up by y'all's bootstraps. And then as the economy changed back over and things are actually, this is not the world that your parents lived in. Well, maybe your parents are probably.
Yeah, mine about like 50, 52.
Okay, so that it's still, they had a better economic condition than you do. My parents had a drastically better economic position, and so their complacency allowed things to really get flipped back into a world. And so a lot of times when I've talked to my father about it. We definitely don't agree on everything, but I've talked to him like he lived in a different world and his opinions on this. And I'm like, well, Pops, this is how it was when you were here, but this isn't when I went to go do this. This isn't how it was. Like,
and that's a conversation that does need to be had between, the parents of that generation and now, because it is a way different world than it was back then. You know what I'm saying? So that's a conversation that needs to be had. And me and B. Jones was having a conversation because, he has a mixed son that's going to be viewed in the world as a black man.
And I could see that already. That boy got a lot of melanin.
Hey, that's okay though. Yeah, that's all right, man. So let me ask you this: what advice would you tell to Brandon or tell any white man that has a mixed child that their kid is going to be looked at as a black person, but they're a white person? So they, like you said, he can't understand what we're going through, but his child will.
Be patient, because I think there's going to be points in time where y'all not understanding each other, and that's going to happen regardless. No matter how much you love them, no matter how much you try, you're not going to ever see some of the stuff, and it may be even later in the life when he realizes, because I know I experienced racism a lot as a child, but didn't necessarily process it is that
you were able to drive and whatnot.
right? Yeah, but later on, I was like, oh, that's racist as hell. Like that's what that was, and so he's going to experience that. Unfortunately, we didn't leave him a better world, and you just have to be prepared and be there to catch him, because it's going to be some hard times, as well as if any father-son relationship, but that is definitely an extra dynamic, and be patient and just be there, to catch him when he falls.
So, B. Jones, I'm gonna ask you the same thing, man. Back to the rallies and everything, because you were out there as well, man. So, what did you see? I remember you said something about tear gas and rubber bullets.
Well,
Like,
so the same day that he was out there with Icon and old boy pulled the gun on Icon, I was out there that same day because that was the first night we had a curfew, and I documented the whole thing on my Facebook Live for almost 3 hours, just to show people, hey, we're really not doing anything.
Right.
The police are doing this. They had us go into the circle. Then once we got to the circle, they had police block off all 4 entrances to the circle to keep us boxed in.
Mm-hmm.
Once we were boxed in, they tear gassed us, so we had nowhere to go but to sit there and suffer. I mean, I remember I was videotaping. They tear gassed us. I dropped my phone. I start falling out because I'm fucked up now.
Yeah, anybody had no milk out there, huh?
I know, a girl did though, thank God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people have milk.
Yeah, my girl picked up my phone, I don't know how she saw it. Picks up my phone, gives it back to me. I'm over here dying in the corner. This girl gives me milk. I'm throwing milk on my face. I'm about to throw up. So finally I collect myself. We keep going. So we get to another spot. And the police were lined up with guns ready to shoot rubber bullets. And nobody did a fucking thing. 1 water bottle got thrown all day. And that was enough. They started unloading rubber bullets. I didn't get hit with one, thank God, but we all took off running, and that was the end of the day. Because at that point, it's only going to get worse. But yeah, I mean, the sad part is, I think I told you this earlier, is I get back to work, and some people saw it that I work with, mostly white people. And instead of asking me how I was doing, the first thing they said was, why the fuck were you out there causing problems and starting riots?
Crazy.
And I already know they didn't watch the video clearly, because if they did, they'd see we didn't do a fucking thing. So it was sad to see that no one cared for my well-being.
Yeah.
And I'm a white dude. So, you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, you won't even get off your ass to go see what's going on for your eyes. You're just going to watch Fox News and let Trump tell it.
Social media and everybody that's saying, oh, this is what it really is, when you're not out there experiencing what it really is. You know what I'm saying? That goes back to the Deshaun Reed, because crazy story about that. The day that it happened, you know what I'm saying? Because I live out north, so I'm driving down Michigan Road from work one day, and I just see the yellow tape. You know what I'm saying? So, neighborhood, yellow tape, you just know, you know what I'm saying, something's going down. So I end up pulling over because they block everywhere off. There's nowhere you can't go down the street. That's my only way to the crib. And Terrence Hood, he was out there. I seen him out there, going ham. He's on his live, woo woo. So now I know that something's going down because I'm seeing police, I'm seeing people gather, and I'm seeing everything. So I hop out the car, and they still got this man over there in that little alley laying there. Like, he's just...
With his brain's blown out.
And my thing is, I'm like, wait a minute. So y'all been having this man just laying right here. His peoples is here. We all here. Everybody seeing this shit in real time. Y'all just had this man just laying there, not doing shit about it. But if that was a white man, they'd have scooped his body right on up. They'd have cleaned up the whole scene. They'd have made sure everything was everything. But I feel like at that time, I was feeling like they was making him an example. Like, they were making us black people see, like, look, you step out of line, this is what's going to happen to you.
And I knew, like, last year that woman police officer got killed. And I said as soon as she got killed that they would kill somebody. And I didn't think they were going to kill 3 people in 12 hours like they did. Well, 4 if you include the unborn baby, the pregnant woman that they ran over. But... I mean, the police, IMPD, they are savage beasts.
They're a gang.
Yeah, they are.
IMPD is a gang.
They're a gang. I'm not going to say that they're all sociopaths, but as you can see with the situation with them stopping the dude's face, these were all veteran officers, every one of them had over 14 years of experience. One had 14 years, 21 years, 23 years experience. Nobody thought that, well, it might be wrong to kick somebody and stomp somebody's face while they're in handcuffs. So that lets you know that, okay, even if you're not a psychopath, you're okay with being on watching him stomp somebody's face and abuse people. You're okay with it.
And
like, you ain't that upset.
Well, that also makes you think too, how many times have you done that before? Because you're very comfortable with doing that, because now they got body cam footage, so now this is being seen in real time. Before they had that, how many times did you do that whenever there was no body cam
and that
footage?
almost didn't get seen. The only reason they went back and looked at the tape was because none of them told what happened, but there was like a slight discrepancy in the story, and they're like, okay, we'll just go watch the tape, and they're like, oh.
But you know what's sad to me though, is like, so I knew the officer that killed him. I went to school with him, and he filed a lawsuit against the NFL when they were doing. You saw that? He said he was in emotional distress.
So what the fuck about the family? Like,
and I don't think they're tired of seeing their son on the news.
Emotional distress right there.
I know other people that, let's just say, know him very closely. I'm gonna leave it at that. But I know that they described him as a black person that don't like niggas. People that have known him for a while, and when I was talking about earlier about how black men in the suit and how that's what IMPD looks after is. You're not gonna last very long. I wouldn't last very. I would never want to be a police officer, first of all. But somebody like me isn't gonna last long on IMP. They would run my ass out of there because that's not my mentality to go treat anybody like that, especially my own people. But when you find people that, give them a gun and a badge and everything, oh, they're gonna run it up. It's like because some people are sick like that, and so they're more than happy to give a black man and a gun and a badge as long as you don't shoot a white person like that. You don't abuse white people. Yeah, okay.
And you know what? Like, I'm not gonna be that person that says all police officers are bad because that would be disingenuous of me. My problem is this: let's say Sean gets pulled over. It ain't gonna be one car. It's gonna be 2 or 3. So we're talking 6 police officers. You mean to tell me if one of them does something wrong to him, the other 5 just got to sit there and stand back and watch?
They're like, well, I don't know.
That goes back to that gang.
Yeah, but so to go back to the gang thing is like, they're in it together. That's a brotherhood, right? So, I ain't gonna say shit, But my problem is, but you just witnessed him kill a man. How are you okay with that?
And then complain about the community won't help us solve these murders. Nobody, well, shit, you won't help. You won't help y'all solve the crimes y'all committing.
This is your job. Y'all supposed to be fighting the murderers, man.
And you know what kills me is in the military, you can't fire your weapon unless fired upon first.
Yep.
In the fucking military, in a war zone. But you mean to tell me as a police officer, you can just pull up and start firing and you don't even lose your job?
You get leave. Paid leave.
Paid leave.
Until they decide that it's your fault. And then if another thing with the Drayshawn Reed thing was the library footage that we all knew that they had. I've been saying they had it forever. And somehow, believe it or not, even though this happened in 2020 and that literally a phone can give you great footage, it was so grainy you couldn't tell what the fuck happened. Now, how did that happen? You really think that they built that new library in 2019?
And put an HD camera?
Yeah, and we're like, no, we're going to save some money, but only put standard definition.
360p.
Yeah, 360p cameras out there.
What's the point in building a new establishment like that? You're going to have new everything. You're going to have new cameras, you're going to have new equipment, everything over there is new. So why not the cameras as well?
So we knew that because the police wouldn't even admit to having the footage, and we knew the security cameras pointed right there to the spot. We knew they had it. They wouldn't even the first time they acknowledged that they have it was when they showed it and you couldn't see nothing. And, there's just there's levels to the covering up. There was somebody that either got the footage and descaled it or whatever it is that they did. You had the officers covering. I had people that, I got a Twitter account with over 6,000 followers, so I would have people in my inboxes trying to tell me fucked up things about Trayshawn Reed and stuff like, oh, they just found this. I'm just like, I'd block them and all this, but they would like IMPD officers. They on social media. Trust me, they talk to me.
Oh yeah.
They talk to me from their little undercover accounts. They spin. They throw false information out there. If the police shoot either one of us, they gonna be in somebody else's inbox. Like, yeah, we recovered a gun with Wildstyle's prints, and he shot a 10-year-old over here. They'll do that, and this is the type of stuff that like. I know people say I'm anti-police. I know some good police officers, but unfortunately, I don't trust any of them. I'll deal with you man to man and everything else, but I can't trust IMPD because I've seen too many times. I watched IMPD literally to distance from me and you point a gun in my cousin's face in the parking lot of Limelight in 2011.
I actually had I ain't gonna say that I hate police per se. I'm gonna say that there's very, very, very bad ones. So, tell you an experience I had a friend named Antoine, a friend named Dominic, God rest his soul. And the homie Dominic, you know what I'm saying, he used to lift cars from like different dealerships, stuff like that. I didn't do none of that. Antoine didn't do none of that. So one day we go pick up a car, unbeknownst to me, because I don't know what's going on. So he goes and gets his car and everything. Next thing I know, I see cherries and berries coming around the corner. Keep in mind, there's snow on the ground and everything. They come behind us without even asking. Like, they didn't even ask us who we are. They didn't ask us our name. They yanked us out that car and slammed us on the ground. My face is in a fury, like a flurry of snow. And I'm just sitting there just like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Y'all not even about to tell me why y'all doing this shit?
I don't care. It was like, all y'all niggas in on it. That's what that happened.
Like, y'all not even about to tell me why I'm being pulled out this damn car and detained. Like, detained for, what am I being detained for? Then whenever I finally get in the cop car, that's when he starts telling me, like, yo, okay, this is that and the third. I'm like, what the fuck does that got to do with me? I don't got nothing to do with that. But you just drug me out of a car, you put my face in some fucking snow, and then all I got was, okay, you can go.
Or when they search your car, they throw all your
Oh
shit
yeah,
on
they
the
searched the car too. They searched the
Mhm.
car too, tore the whole damn car
Oh
up.
yeah, you got to pick all your shit out the snow, put it back in the car.
And they end up taking Dom, but they let me and Antoine go, and then we just get in the car and just look at each other like, what the fuck just happened? Like, and that's the reality for black men, because if we was a car full of white kids, they'd have came, they'd have asked for maybe ID, they'd have maybe try to see what was going on first. They
would
wouldn't
have asked to search the car.
They wouldn't have yanked us out that damn car like that. And that was one of like my bad experiences with police that had me like, yo, with black skin, they look at you as a target. They already look at you as a criminal, especially if there's already like some criminal activity they're assuming is going on. If they put a black face to it, they own it. Mm-hmm. They put a white face to it. Oh, let's maybe it could be this or maybe it could be that. They'll turn over every rock before they get to a white criminal, but they'll go straight to an innocent black man before knowing all the details.
You know what else is funny is, like, let's say you were running from the police, right? And then they shoot you in your back and they find a gun on you. That's not illegal. First and foremost. It is not illegal to own a gun in America. Mm-hmm. Let them look in your wallet and see a carry permit. Oh, but they're still gonna say, oh, he had a gun. Mm-hmm. You know, police in America, but I can only speak for here because I live here. Right. Don't do any due diligence whatsoever. It's, oh, he was running and he had a gun, so we shot him.
And sometimes it don't even be that they knew he had the gun when they shot him.
Sometimes it's a cell phone.
Right. They will assume that he had. If you running from the police and you reach in your pocket anything, they're gonna automatically assume you have a weapon there. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if you like trying to call somebody real quick, try to get out of here, nothing like that. If you pull this out like that, or if you pull it like any kind of way, they are going to shoot you, and that's unfortunate.
But see, that gets back to a whole lot of It's a certain type of basic mentality, and they know that they do that with you, Brandon. They like, well, his daddy or his uncle or his grandfather could be a judge, a politician, a highfalutin businessman, or something else. They do it with me or you. They're like, well, these niggas' family ain't gonna be able to say shit. They can file a complaint, but it ain't gonna get heard. Mm-hmm. and that's why they're careless in black neighborhoods. They're careless with black people because they know there's very little repercussions if you fuck up, you go over a little bit. Now, hell, maybe you can shoot them or something. You can justify it, yeah. And usually, the people around you are going to support you. Now, they might give you some shit. Why did you do that and put them in a position, but they're not going to tell on you.
Then they quick to bring up your past too. Like,
Oh man,
if you got anything on your record,
anything at all,
anything on your record, they gonna be like, yo, oh, I did this because I was scared because he has this, that, and the third on his record.
27 years ago, he got busted for shade.
Come on,
man. And they ain't even looked at none of that when it happened, but all of a sudden that becomes the issue. I mean, this is the typical gaslighting of racism, man.
You know what else is crazy is police aren't allowed to patrol neighborhoods they're familiar with. I find that completely fucked up. All because, if someone does something wrong, you might give them some leeway. And the fuck? Like, I'm trying to deter crime, not just stop it. I'm trying to deter it. I think if it was up to me, if you don't live in that neighborhood or are familiar with it, you shouldn't patrol it.
Yeah, because a lot of what I found in my neighborhood, I live in the Riverside 3rd Ward land, 2G. In fact, I'm from the 2G. People don't realize that. And then I went to Post Road. But the officers that patrol my neighborhood are scared. I've seen many times, like you can see it in their eyes when they deal with anybody, that a lot of them are scared. And that's why they shoot people. It ain't even, I mean, it is racism, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it, a lot of times they don't fire out of hate either. They're scared. They're in a position, and like you said, they don't know the neighborhoods, and that's a whole point of view of like, well, they should know the neighborhoods, but that puts my life at jeopardy because you're scared to come into my neighborhood. You see a whole bunch of niggas shooting dice over here. They've been shooting dice for 20 years on Harding Street or hanging out over there, and you see a threat, and you're scared. You don't know what's going on, and I'm like, I grew up there. These are the same motherfuckers that have been there peacefully the whole entire time. Like, it's always crazy in my neighborhood. The streets that have the most people on there that's hanging out, loitering or whatever, is not the streets that had the most violence. Congress, which you almost never see anybody out on Congress, that's where the most people died. I mean, there's been like four or five people that got murdered on Congress Street. It's like 2 blocks away from me. You drive down there now, you won't see anybody out over there. But the next street on 31st is where everybody's out at. But the police is probably more scared of 31st Street than Congress. But Congress is where it go down at, 35th Street. Like, that's where stuff goes down at. Like, it's crazy how the police, culturally, they don't understand, and they're sent into an area, so they're already put in I don't think the best of police, but they're also put in a bind. Like, why would you want to go to a neighborhood that you don't know the people, you don't understand the culture? They're out here talking to each other, and you can't even understand what the hell half of what they're saying, literally. Because they speak in black dialect and black lingo. Yeah, and you sitting over here like, I don't know, or they talking about fucking me up, this and that, and that's what they be on. That's why this shit happens.
So let me ask you guys this. So back to solutions. What is your greatest salute? Like, what steps should be taken to end police brutality? Like, what can we do as black men and white men that, understand? What do we do as people to send that message like, yo, stop fucking with us? Like, all we want is some damn peace.
The biggest thing is people got to understand this is a system. And so I'll proudly put on my social media all the time, defund police. And it's not that I don't think that if something happens, you don't call anybody. I'm saying the current structure, IMPD gets over a third of the city's budget. I mean, they got $261 million last year. And then the homicide, we just broke the homicide record like last week.
We still got a whole
3 months to go, man. And we broke the homicide record from last year. It broke the record from the year before, the year before, the year before. We keep giving them more money. The solution is less police and actually fixing the systemic problems of poverty, housing, and everything else. You wouldn't need men with guns to stand over everything, which obviously ain't been too effective, if people had their own shit. They had their own homes. They were able to get to their jobs. They had quality jobs. They They had time to spend with the kids. The kids wouldn't be out doing this stuff if the parents weren't always working or dead tired by the time they do get home to watch their kids, to spend time with them, to nurture them. And yet the solution always is pay more white men with guns to stand over everybody. And at this point, if it ain't apparent, the statistics say it's not working. That every time the police budget has gone up, the homicide rate has gone up with it. Those are actually the facts. It's not just, passionate activists. Sometimes activists can not always have all the facts. They have the facts. Like, this is what's going on in Indianapolis. Every time that police budget went up, somebody died.
B. Jones?
You know what? For me, this might sound a little drastic, but I think the body cams is a good idea in theory.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have the ability to dismiss it or just not even use it, it kind of seems obsolete to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you really want to see change in the police department, make someone who's never been an officer run that office.
I like that.
Because they're going to look at shit from an outside view, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I've been a police officer, I know what kind of bullshit goes down in any job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you work at a job and you and your coworker do some dumb shit. You don't want to tell the boss, right?
Right.
That's every fucking job.
Right.
That's every job.
Yep.
Whether it's police, doctors, I don't care what job you have. It's like, oh, I fucked up. I don't want to say this.
I appreciate you guys coming in, man.
Right,
This is a
sir.
conversation that needs to be had. You know what I'm saying? We need a change. There needs to be a change that's happening in Wildstyle. You do a lot for the community, so on behalf of the community, we appreciate you.
Thank you,
B.
bro.
Jones, we appreciate you stopping in as well, man. And we gonna cut. That's good, man.